I was gonna work out. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and begin. So I will pass off this microphone to the candidate once they come up here. And then I will start your 3-minute timer after you say your introduction sentence of your name, pronouns, your major, and then I'll go from there. So if everyone can welcome our candidate, Hailey-Gwen.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hailey. I'm a third-year cognitive sciences major with a minor in public health sciences. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm currently serving as this year's interim vice president. And I'm standing in front of all of y'all today in hopes of becoming your 2024 to 2025 Fusion president. I previously served as a Fusion intern, co-academics director, and currently your IVP. So with that being said, I've seen this space grow not only in numbers, but in pivotal stages of development and professionalism. With the rise in numbers and different perspectives, it has allowed me to think about how Fusion can move forward and grow with its members. With this, it is inevitable to welcome new ways of approaching certain events, issues, and responsibilities. Amongst the chaos of these changes, the one thing that remains constant is a feeling of community and home here within the Fusion space. That said, I believe that I have the experience and skills needed to continually improve and lead Fusion to the right direction. I intend to carry the growth of what we learned this year while maintaining and uplifting the pillars of what Fusion is. Amongst this, I have a few changes and improvements that I think will take Fusion right there. So one of the important pillars of Fusion is culture. As a cultural-based organization, we lack the basis of sharing a culture that brought many people within our space. Highlighting and uplifting this pillar is one of my biggest priorities for Fusion's future. By implementing a cultural director, we can bring more attention to the cultural aspect of our organization. With this, we can collectively learn about Filipino culture through newly implemented events and programs. In doing so, it opens a space for our community to discuss our experiences while allowing those who don't identify with our culture to have a safe space to talk about theirs as well. And then, culture is not just what we identify with, it is our past experiences and where we feel at home. By adapting the changes and integrating the diversity present here within the Fusion space, we're able to create an enriching learning environment for all future members and leaders within this club. Another pillar that I would like to touch on is support. Our support pillar highlights the importance of taking care of our mental, physical, social, and emotional well-beings. As our club continues to blossom, we are witnessing an increasing influx of women into what has traditionally been a male-dominated space. The presence of female leadership within our board not only fosters inclusivity, but also sends a powerful message that this is a space where everyone can lead and be supported. As I stand before you all, I hope to provide that image for all my female-identifying friends, that leadership and change is possible within this male-dominated field. I aim to further create a safe space and support a space for our community to foster it. By strengthening these two pillars, we're able to create a stronger foundation for Fusion. I value and am committed to supporting all of Fusion's pillars as it sets a tone for future generations of this club. By establishing this, we must be aware that change is often uncertain and unfamiliar. However, I have experienced firsthand the adversities that come with a diverse and growing community. All of these challenges are vital to me learning about the inner workings of Fusion, which allowed me to create a strong foundation in building up and leading this club. Fusion's future continues to lie in the hands of not only our board, but our general members themselves. To listen and understand the different perspectives and suggestions is to create a space that continuously becomes a home to many. In building and uplifting your voices, I hope you can trust me in carrying your voices next year as Fusion's president.
The instructions, and again, this is on the doc, so if you would like to follow along, go ahead.
please go ahead if you have a question that you feel may not be super important, go ahead and try to write that towards the end. But if you have one that you really want answered and you really feel the value behind that, try to get one of those first spots. And then we will be skipping the leftover questions, unfortunately, once time is up, just to be mindful of the time that we have allotted for today. And then we also do want to note that if your question is skipped, we may be skipping things due to if there are questions that may be inappropriate or may be repetitive from other questions like that, or further clarification is needed, so we will be marking that as well. So I will go ahead and open this document. Let me know if y'all are able to see it. Is everyone able to open this document? So again, we will have 30 minutes. I will go ahead and open this to my phone. I will leave the QR code open just in case anyone needs it. And we'll go from there. So we will start. We'll go ahead and start the 15-minute timer, and we'll start with the first question. So the first question, Hailey, is, in your opinion, from your experience being on Fusion Board, what is the biggest internal problem that Fusion leadership tends to face? And how would you, as president, minimize or prevent this from reoccurring next year?
I would say that's a pretty good question. I would say the biggest problem is definitely communication. It's a lot easier said than done to say that I can reach out to someone if I need help. It's a lot easier to say this than actually do it itself. That's something like I know a lot of my board and a lot of like myself face as well. So acknowledging that is already like the first step in improving. In order to like combat this and to help out, I think personally reaching out and really just trying to like read the room, I guess in the most casual sense, is important because there's oftentimes like people aren't comfortable in saying what they're going through, or sometimes they try to do it in silence. And with that being said, trying to support them and knowing that you're there for them is really important, and communicating this. Also, really connecting with your board and just going in depth and like reaching out personally beyond the board level is also important too, because at the end of the day, we're all friends here, so that's important as well to think about too.
So your next question is, a crucial role of president is to support each board member and position. Can you briefly explain your interactions with other board members and positions as IVP, and how this will affect your potential role of president?
So in my experience as IVP, I would say that I do talk to a lot of the board members just because of what my programs like hold. Especially when it comes to internship, I knew I had to talk to all of the board members in terms of like how they're reaching out to their interns and how they're doing and how like the workload that they fall upon as well. With that, we also have a program called Board Buddies. So interacting with our board buddies and my board buddies for this year would be athletics and academics. And from there, reaching out to them as well is also really important in interacting. And then with interacting with other board members, it's also important to know that as executive board appointed will come to you in terms of like problems or conflicts. So that was also something that like I faced as well, so that I was experiencing as well. And then in my previous leadership with academics, I was also able to learn this throughout my interactions with my exec back then and my appointed back then as well. And then, what was your question again?
A crucial role of president is to support each board member in position. Can you briefly explain your interactions with other board members and positions as IVP, and how this will affect your potential role of president?
So yeah, continuing with that, already like my interactions with all the board members is pretty up there, and really reaching out and connecting and communicating with them is really important. And to put this into, if I were to become president, Really checking with my board members and making sure that everyone's okay is really important as well. Burnout and like a lot of overwhelming feelings is inevitable in college, so that's really important for me to take note of and be aware of as well.
Okay, so our next question is, could you expand more on how you plan to introduce and implement the position of cultural director? Do you think this would encourage the addition of more positions if needed, or do you have any ideas of how to improve or build on the current board position?
So with implementing the culture director, like I said before, it does highlight the importance of like our Filipino culture. So as I said, we are a Filipino-based organization that's highly emphasizing on science and STEM. And with the culture director, it gives them the platform to really reach out to these events and programs. So we do have like FAM, like that month, and really highlighting how our culture can be highlighted in that month, because one general meeting can't really just encapsulate just one single thing or like one huge thing in a whole. So through the culture director, we're able to really put these out and expand a lot more than just one general meeting. We can go on to like Instagram and hold like other events and like programs that can further like emphasize this as well. We can have a workshop here and there, but to have like not necessarily a set schedule, but something that people can look forward to would be really important as well. And
could you expand more on how you plan to introduce and implement the position of cultural director? Do you think this would encourage the addition of more positions if needed, or do you have any ideas of how to improve or build on the current board positions?
And then to answer like the latter half of that question, I would say, as y'all can tell, our board is pretty big and it's always expanding when it comes to more general members and what we need and assessing these different situations. But I would say for now, it really is taking it by eye. From this year, we can see that we needed like a bump in these pillars in itself. We needed that bump in cultural. We needed that extra timeline with like ICS project directors. Just knowing when to like allocate certain responsibilities and moving between these is really important, because sometimes some positions have a lot of things that they do that many of our general members don't know, and acknowledging this as board and separating these positions into like different responsibilities is also important. So by implementing this cultural director, we're able to relieve a lot of positions from a lot of overwhelming events that sometimes like may not necessarily fit in their position, but just something that was a lot extra that could be made in the position itself.
Your next question is, how do you plan to deal with any issues that arise, whether it's within Fusion or external, with other orgs?
That's a good question. I would say it's really important to communicate with not only your executive board, but those within the space and the problem. Like I said before, it's easier said than done, but being in this board position and understanding your role as a leader and as a board member, you should be aware that there's some things that you need to take very responsibly and very seriously. So understanding that and having to take away your own personal bias is really important too, because there are certain situations that you really have to take a clear head, and there's going to be like, depending on the situation, there could be like legal things or just really personal things that you want to keep contained, and it's not really anyone's business to be knowing that they shouldn't know. So really just stepping aside and like containing this problem and talking it out is really important, and keeping the most level and unbiased position is important, especially because things can happen and
Your next question is, if the internship program will be under the president next year, how would you improve or change it based on your experience overseeing it as IVP, and especially with Fusion growing in numbers?
So this is a good question, because I did think about it quite a bit. If interns were to be with another president, I would say that I learned a lot in my process right now as IVP. We implemented a new program already with having different classes and going between different quarters and expanding and taking in the amount of interns as well. One thing that I would say if we were to be moved under president is really just cleaning up and like acknowledging the mistakes that I made in like the past. And in doing this, I'm able to highlight just exactly like what people want to get out of the internship as well. Something that I think would be really beneficial is having interns go under like certain positions, much like familiar to like our sister organization like HABA. Seeing this and seeing how that implemented with their programs, it allowed me to really focus like, oh, that would be really beneficial for next year because we do have certain interns or like certain people that are interested in certain positions. That would be more beneficial if we were to put them under them as well. So trying to see how to move from this and like cleaning it up and just really making sure that it's more organized and more focused on what like the general members and the interns want to get out of it would be really wonderful.
Next question is, what are things you want to implement to encourage more women in STEM to come out to Fusion and make it a more welcoming space?
So that's a good question. I think it really starts with like our own personal clubbing and like our own board and our own members itself. I know a lot of people, at least like in my like experiences and what I've heard from other female identifying people, it was really intimidating to first come to this space because of the influx of like male dominating people. But through our board, those who are female identifying and those who are even queer identifying, reaching out into those spaces and having like people reach out through like personal like DMs or just like in general, like that was also really helpful in allowing women to feel a lot more safer in this space. And we did implement a group chat like earlier this year that we could be working on more, we could be reaching out more, we could be like doing a lot more events. And then we do have Women's History Month, something that we could be highlighting a lot more, and having that opportunity and that platform is important to reach out, especially because there's a lot of women on board and a lot of women in our space right now, and like having them see, like to have that comfortability and like space here allows more people to come in and allows more women to feel safer and like opens up the doors to more like opportunities and just spaces for everyone.
Next question is, please critique the current decision.
So I would say that our current president did a really good job with adapting with everything that went on this year. Those of you who are new, those of you who are old, you can tell that Fusion is grown a lot. From my first year here, because I'm 30 now, I definitely saw that growth go insane, and I've seen Rosie go through this as well. And this year was really like a sucker punch to the face because of how many like people we got and how many different like perspectives. And I think that she did a really good job in adapting to this and doing the best that she can to alleviate everything that went on and just like to go through, because change is scary, and to do that in a space that's like really new and like it hasn't happened before, I think she set a really good foundation for what we can do in the future and how we can move forward with that.
Next question is, how do you plan to ensure the mental and emotional well-being of your board throughout the year, especially if conflict were to arise?
That's a good question. Like I said before, I think personal check-in is really important. Like I said, it's easier said than done, but acknowledging that you're in this space and you're gonna have to deal with these problems, and having like your own mental to step back and assess the situation is important as well. At the end of the day, we're our own people, we're our students, we have our own lives that we have to do. It takes a lot to really acknowledge that and step back from like Fusion or from the space if you need it. So checking in and reassuring like my board members and like how they're feeling is important. We should be able to take care of our own selves first, because at the end of the day, this is a club and this shouldn't be like feeling like a chore, and it's something that we should be able to enjoy. So allowing them to take that step back and taking care of their own mental and their own space is something that's really vital.
Next question is, if you get voted into presidency for next year, that means you will be leadership for all 4 years of your college career. How do you plan on keeping the same passion for fusion in year 4 compared to your passion in your other years?
I would say that's a very interesting question. Because to be transparent and to be real, interest is a constant up and down, and passions can easily burn out, and it can always feel kind of scary here and there. But I think in keeping this passion is really the people. The people you meet here and stuff, and at least for me personally, the people I've met here really helped me stay grounded in what I'm passionate in, and seeing how it affects other communities, and seeing how other friendships are made was also really important. And keeping this passion, a lot of people find passion in different things. So it's understanding that as well, and trying to do new stuff, and opening up to general members' points of views and what they are interested in is also important. But really just enjoying what I can, and being with the people that really allow me to feel at home here.
So this will be your last question. The question is, other than reaching out, how would you facilitate support among board members, especially as the number of board members increased over the past couple of years?
This was something that I actually did have a lot of thought in. I think something that is vital, and I think everyone should take, is a break. Allowing board members to take their breaks, and maybe not necessarily mandated, but having them know that they have the option of taking a break, and them taking it is important. Sometimes we're so consumed in what we do that we don't take time to breathe and just take a breath for ourselves. So allowing them to have that mandated break and response and break away from this allows them to clear their head, and take and approach certain situations in a better and good way.
We actually do have time for one more question. And this question is, would you rather for the rest of your life put on your left sock and left shoe first, or your right sock and right shoe first? Or would you rather have to drive your car in reverse for the rest of your life?
Wait, so does my car in reverse have a back camera?
No.
What? Why is this a hard question? It's a hard question.
So would you rather have to put your left sock then left shoe and then right sock and then right shoe? Or would you rather have to drive in reverse for the rest of your life?
Backup camera? Maybe the socks, because honestly, to be so real, I rely on my backup camera like crazy. Because it has a line, so I know, but if I don't have a backup camera, I think it's wrapped. I'm good.